welcome into Coach's Corner. I'm your host, Lucas Coach Farah, as always. We're back with a new episode this week. Good week as we're finally getting into the fall season. We're getting into the beautiful Octobers, the different color leaves, the playoff baseball, and of course the football that we always have going on. Even the NBA is like inching closer with training camp opening up. But you know how we start most shows off now. Do the thought of the week. We're going to do just the NFL thought of the week. No college, no big thoughts of mine are coming too, I guess. And I also do want to talk some baseball before we head on to our NFL preview and reaction part of the show. So, with that being said, my thought of the week has to do with the Carolina Panthers. And I don't know if it's because I'm drawn to rookie quarterbacks always, because something about, it's the draft part of it where it's like we finally get to see these guys in action. We're done projecting. We get to watch them through. Because if you remember, I talked about C.J. Stroud and how he's the only successful Ohio State quarterback, turning out to be more true and true as the weeks go by. But, now I want to kind of shift over to Bryce Young on the kind of the flip side of the coin here, where he's not having that, shout out Layla, the success that you would think he would have had coming in as a Heisman Trophy winner, first overall pick. It seems like he's just not transitioning as quickly to the league, and I don't know if it is entirely his fault. It's one of those, the Panthers hired Frank Reich, who isn't really, I guess, the prototypical, like Bryce Young isn't the prototypical Frank Reich quarterback. Normally you get kind of a drop back, bigger guy. If you just look back to his Indianapolis days, you have like Andrew Luck, Jacoby Brissett, Phil Rivers, Carson Wentz, and Matt Ryan. And obviously all of those are, varying levels of success that he had with those guys. But I think, they were all just bigger guys who really kind of, I guess Carson Wentz didn't try and, he did not steal script, and that was kind of his own issue. But there are guys that typically run through the scheme as most quarterbacks do and kind of go through the reads, and bigger guys. Bryce Young doesn't do that much, and it's not in a bad way that he likes to go off script. I likened him going into the draft as the best improviser in the draft, where I thought C.J. Stroud was the best pure passer and Anthony Richardson was the best pure athlete. And I don't think we've seen that Bryce Young yet. We haven't seen that confidence from him. And like I said, part of it I think is the coaching scheme, where I don't think it is helping him. I don't think it's making his life easier. Receivers just really aren't getting open. It turns out Adam Thielen is, a little bit past his prime, and so he doesn't look as good. DJ Shark hasn't looked great. Like Jonathan Mingo's been hurt. So varying reasons why I think Bryce Young is struggling. But main point is, I don't think he has that same level of confidence in different parts of his life that he did in college, where I say different parts of his life, different parts of his football life, where basically I don't know if he doesn't trust his offensive line as much, he's not trusting his eyes as much, he's not trusting his receivers. I think there's a part of confidence that is missing from the way Bryce Young is playing the game in his rookie season, where it's just not clicking to the degree that I thought people thought it would. Because Bryce Young is the great improviser. He kind of looks with his eyes, moves with his feet, kind of does these different mannerisms that made him so dangerous in college. And he had this instinct of, where to look with the ball, where to place it, all these different aspects, and it's just not really been there at the NFL level. And like I said, I think it's like if you put the blame pie together, I don't think the blame pie is 80%, 90% Bryce Young. No, it's different variations of the receivers aren't great. The coaching has not been great. The offensive line hasn't been incredible, and he was hurt against the Seahawks, so he didn't play that game. But there's still just something missing that I think Bryce Young will figure it out as he goes along. Because, we've seen the first overall picks not do great out the gate, and I think we've been spoiled with different guys that have broken the mold. But let's just go back. Joe Burrow has not. He didn't come out the gate swinging with the Bengals. It took him some time, and even then, he tore his ACL obviously, so he went out. But it wasn't great out the gate. And Trevor Lawrence, we know what happened there with Urban Meyer and company. Wasn't great. So, it's not I'm me giving up on Bryce Young yet, but I think there are aspects of his game that do need to be tweaked or figured out where it makes him, I guess, more of an NFL level threat, where he's thinking through the process more, the confidence. I think the confidence is the big thing for me that I think I'm missing from his game so far. And I haven't watched a whole 60 minutes of Panthers football just because I know how it's going just without watching it. Like a 21-13 loss to the Vikings, a Vikings team that hasn't looked good in its own right, hasn't had a good defense really, good defensive performance yet outside of this Panthers game. And like I said, I've seen plays and here and there, but it's just I feel like I have a good enough grasp on the team where it's like they weren't going to be ready to come out the gate swinging this year, but it's worse than expected, and I think part of it is Bryce Young not growing into his NFL franchise quarterback position yet. And I think he'll get there. It's just right now doesn't look great, but like I said, we'll see how it goes. So with that being said, going to transition here over to the baseball side of things. Real quick, we're just going to look at the bracket here because we do have some results, and I think we have some estimated results that we can kind of guess here. And it starts off with the Twins winning their first game since 2004, I want to say, their last playoff game. They were on an 18-game losing streak in the playoffs, and the biggest one in history. But they beat that. They beat the Blue Jays. They move on to go take on the Astros. Should be a monumental task given the fact they're the reigning champions, and they did just kind of, roll their way to the end to a division title in the AL West. But I'm excited for this one. I do think it will be competitive based off of the Twins' bats will get going here and there. But I do think the Astros will win that. Rangers blanked the Rays in Tampa Bay. Really not even close in either game. The Rangers' offense was just surging, and I won't say I expected it, but I did like the Rangers in this matchup just because I think their offense has been really good. Tampa Bay's kind of hit a wall. I say they hit a wall. They won 99 games, but it never felt right after the Wander Franco situation. Like I didn't take them as a serious team, and they weren't a serious team. It just felt like they didn't have that extra push, to really move forward, and they have a big offseason ahead of them. But Rangers move on to play the first seeded Orioles. We'll see how that goes. I'm very curious to see that matchup. I think it'll be exciting for both fan bases who haven't been in the mix in a while to, like I said, be in the mix, which is always fun for these teams, and we'll see how it goes. Arizona taking on the Brew Crew. They're up. I think they're about to win in real time here. But either way, Arizona's doing their thing against the Brewers. Pitching hasn't shown up as much as it should, but their offense is also goes quiet after they score a couple early runs. Let's see. Yep, Arizona's up 5-2 as we speak. And then we move down. This series isn't much, competition either. Phillies are up 3-0 as we record this. They'll probably get the win over the Fish here, the good old Marlins, to take on the Braves. And I didn't say that Diamondbacks Brewers winner will take on the Dodgers. I can't imagine either of these teams, no matter what happens here, will beat the Dodgers. I guess crazier things have happened. Arizona's bats maybe getting hot at the right time. We'll see. Then, like I said, Marlins, Phillies. Phillies hitting is, good enough to win, a very easy matchup against the Marlins. Marlins offense is just, it's a rough spot. So they'll end up losing that. Phillies, Braves, a rematch of last year. I think the Braves are more prepared, more healthier, more driven, I think, this season. And so I expect this to be a very good series, a challenging series at the least. The advantage for the Braves is they'll get to have their two aces, Strider and Fried, on the bump for 4 out of the 5 games. The third one they have to figure out, but they should be okay. But I'm very excited to see how these matchups play out. And we'll see. Obviously I'll talk about it. We'll talk about them next week. We'll get to them then. But that's how it's going right now. The postseason is here. October baseball, some of the best baseball we get. And I am pumped to see how it turns out. So, with all that being said, we'll transition off to college football, and we'll regretfully talk about my week. I said we were going to build off of the 9-2 in 1 week. We're going to have a good week. I didn't love the board. I said that. You can go look at the film. Go break down the film with the yellow highlighter, the whole 9 yards. Look at it. I didn't love the slate, but I picked out my games anyways. And they did not go well. 4-7 could be worse, could be better. But, 4-7 is still not positive. It's not even 500. I don't love it, but going through my picks real quick, I had Utah. That was just a big fat loser. Cam Rising is never going to return from his torn ACL. At Oregon State, I should have realized Carvallis was just too much for those Utah boys, I guess. BYU over Cincy was a pretty easy win. Western Michigan, that was a good, easy win against Ball State. Georgia State, Sean Elliott and company could not pull through for me against Troy. Notre Dame at the last second managed to win against Duke. But then here's where we run into a very, very bad time. West Virginia TCU over 52. They didn't get there. The poor TCU kicker could not make the game-tying kick to save his life. If we would have gotten that, we would have gotten overtime and we could have lived, but we didn't. I broke my own rule. I should never have taken Pitt against Virginia Tech. In Blacksburg with Enter Sandman playing at night on Saturday night, I should have known better, but big stupid brain just wanted to fade Virginia Tech. Washington, Arizona. Arizona fought hard in this game, but Washington, still beat them, but it wasn't like, it was a competitive-ish game, and those kind of games just don't go over 67.5. That's a lot of points, and they didn't get there. South Carolina laid a big old egg against Tennessee. Weren't really competitive in that game for any point outside of maybe the first couple minutes. Just Tennessee wanted that revenge, and they got it. Boise State, Memphis, we had a nice little ending to that to get the over at 60. And then Arkansas State, UMass. Arkansas State, so let me say, the total was 55.5. My reasoning was bad team, playing bad team, shouldn't score a lot of points. Arkansas State scored 52 on their own, so that was just a brutal time. But we move on, we flip the page, we turn the page on to this week's notes. We got a good chunk of games. I like a lot of these games. I didn't know where to go with some of them, but alas, let me run through them. It's a lot of games to talk about here. Good bit. You can see us scroll for a little second. So, starting off, LSU at Mizzou, a ranked matchup in the 20s ranked because LSU dropped a game in a thrilling shootout against Ole Miss. Brian Kelly's little tenure there in LSU is not going according to plan. However, I do think they have a good right spot here against Mizzou. LSU still has a ton of talent. I like Mizzou, and I think they're better than what I thought they would be this year. But I still am not fully going to believe in this Mizzou team to upset LSU here. I like LSU minus 5.5. The Red River Shootout, or the Red River Rivalry, whatever you want to call it, Oklahoma and Texas. One of the more exciting times in this matchup's history, I guess the past couple of years hasn't been, great. We had Texas that was, I think, just better than Oklahoma last year. Oklahoma's normally better, in years past than Texas, but last we get a 5-0 matchup between the two teams before they head off to SEC play. This is going to be a super, super exciting game. I can't wait for this one at 12 o'clock. And I like the over. 60.5 is not a huge number. I would have expected this to be kind of like around the 68, 67 point. Because the thing is, I think Texas can score 50 points on their own. I think Vegas is giving a lot of credit to this Oklahoma defense. I think they'll be competitive, but Quinn Ewers and Steve Sarkisian has been cooking all year. I just like them to score a lot of points here, and I think Oklahoma will have to score some points. And maybe the line is also just they don't believe in Oklahoma's offense, which has not been stellar so far this year. They had their moments early on against bad teams, but put them against some competent teams like Cincinnati, they only scored 20. So, I like Texas to win this game. Also, I do like that number at 6.5. I do like them, because Texas and Kansas was a close game last week, but Texas just kind of pulled away and won like 42-14 or something. Like Texas is like quietly puts together great second halves, and yeah, either way, I like the over. I like Texas. But next we have Colorado at Arizona State. The public is very high on Colorado here. Not even just like media. I'm talking about the betting public. 81% of the bets on Colorado. That's a big number. I don't love that. It feels like I'm the square here, but I'm gonna ride here because it feels just too easy. It feels like a layup. Arizona State is fine, not great. 1-4 on the season. Colorado's coming off two very, very tough matchups where they just weren't really close. But I think this is a good get-right game for them against a not great Arizona State team. Alabama at Texas A&M. I like the under 46.5. This is, the numbers moved here quite a bit for Texas A&M. More in a like favorable matchup where it was like I think 4-3 was the spread here. Earlier in the week, it's moved to 1.5 +9 for Texas A&M. I like Texas A&M's chances of winning this game just because I think their defense is really tenacious. I think their defense could shut down Jalen Milroe because really now Alabama's committed to Jalen Milroe, but as a running quarterback. They've committed to that run game. They've really tried to emphasize that. But alas, I don't think that they can do that for a whole game against the Texas A&M team, who I think has been good outside of a very bad matchup against Miami. I like them. I don't know if I like them to win this game, but I like the under here. Texas A&M, shutting down Jalen Milroe, making his life harder. And Texas A&M offense isn't awesome, but I think it's good enough. Moving on, Michigan at Minnesota. I think this is an interesting spot. This could be a Michigan upset spot. I mean, they've been terrific all year. Minnesota's been lackluster, to say the least. But, I mean, I like the over here at 46. And it's a scary game where it could definitely be like Michigan 30, Minnesota 3. But I do think there's a good chance that Michigan wants to do some style points. It's on the road at night. I think, maybe try and do a little bit of something here. And the thing is, Michigan isn't great covering the spread. Like 1-3-1 so far in the season, not a great number. But I do think the over is definitely in play here. I think Minnesota will have to at least score some garbage time to help their end of it. But I like that one. Texas Tech at Baylor. Look, Texas Tech, I have them winning this game -1, essentially a pick 'em. The over, I think, is very much in play after Baylor coming off in a very emotional win against UCF. They had to come back down 28-7. I think that took up a lot of energy, took up a lot of winning energy, and I could see them easily dropping this game. On the road at night makes this tougher for Texas Tech, but like I said, I think that they do have a shot here. Old Dominion at Southern Miss. I do like betting some of these smaller school games. I like Southern Miss here -1.5. Not great on the season so far, not a stellar start, but at home at night, basically win the game by a field goal. I think they can do that, and we'll just see how it goes. I'm just kind of rolling the dice here. That's a roll the dice pick. Marshall at NC State. I have the under in this at 45. NC State is benching their transfer quarterback, Brennan Armstrong, this week for a freshman, I want to say. Either way, it's a different quarterback, trying to get his feet under him. I can't imagine they'll come out the gate swinging on this probably a game where they're paying Marshall to come in. And, Marshall is a good team. I think they'll be competitive in this game. I can see them, covering that 6.5, Marshall. But NC State also has a very good defense. So this is one of those freshman quarterback on NC State's end, and NC State has a good defense. So I could see this being a low-scoring game where Marshall does keep it close, but ends up losing. But either way, I like the under at 45 there. Next up, South Florida at UAB. I have the under in this one as well. It's an under week, I guess, for me. The over-under is 68.5, a monster number. Two teams that I don't think are great. Just USF is better than I thought, and UAB's just had a tough go of it, especially against last week against Tulane, where Trent Dilfer was yelling at coaches. I can't imagine the offense wants to go crazy there, and just feels like an under game. 60.5 is so big. Moving on, Purdue at Iowa. I have Iowa minus 2.5, 330 at home for Iowa against Purdue here. I don't think Purdue's a very good team. There, I'll just say it. Hudson Card doesn't impress me. I don't think the new coach is nearly as good as Jeff Brom is, who's at Louisville now. I like what Iowa will have cooking at least. They lost their quarterback last week. That'll be a tough blow to them, but the defense is so good, especially against these lower level Big Ten teams. So give me Iowa there. We get to the end here. Boston College at Army. I like Army minus 3 here. Boston College doesn't inspire a lot of hope for me. I can't imagine them going on the road here against Army will go very well. Give me Army. I hate that the number is 73% betting on Army, but I'll still take it. Ladies and gentlemen, I might have found my team of the year here if they get this win on Saturday. That's Wazoo, Washington State Cougars. They're last year in the Pac-12. They're on a wrecking spree. They're just taking out opponent after opponent. And they're another underdog this week. A number 14 Washington State, an underdog on the road at UCLA. It's being played 12 o'clock Pacific time. I think that's important to note, or it's 1 o'clock. No, it's 12 o'clock. Either way, they're playing an early game. UCLA at home might come out to a rough start. I think Washington State has a chip on their shoulder big enough to weigh down the entire world. I love what they've been doing. Cam Ward is incredible. Give me Wazoo plus 3.5 at UCLA. Then we have Rutgers at Wisconsin. I like Rutgers plus 13. 4-1 is deceptive for how this team is. I don't think they're that good. But 4-0-1, they're covering spreads. Wisconsin doesn't do it for me. I think a 12 o'clock game isn't great news for them either. So give me Rutgers on the road here to make a very tough game for Wisconsin. Greg Schiano will have the boys up and ready. Double-digit dog for Rutgers on a 4-0-1 against the spread this year. Feels very, very nice. Then last but not least, Fresno State, I think ranked for the first time ever. I'm sorry, but I think you'll be unranked after this week. Or at least you won't be considered, you'll be considered a good team, but not a great group of 5 team. I have Wyoming plus 6 here at home at night against Fresno State. I like Fresno. I do. I think they've been good this year to me. Their offense is pretty electric. The whole quarterback is good. But Wyoming is also a talented team. They're also better than I thought they were a couple times. I bet against them a couple times. They burned me a couple times. So I like Wyoming here plus 6. I think they'll at least lose by a field goal or lose close. They'll keep it close. I don't think it's a touchdown game here. Even with Fresno State being ranked, I think at home is helpful for Wyoming. That's just how I'm going to go. So, but those are the games. A lot of games. Like I said, where I hated last week, I think I might love this week. The way I picked all these games is just something about it. I feel good. I feel energized. But either way, we'll move on. Move on to the NFL now. Starting off with Thursday Night Football. We'll get our thoughts of last week and preview ahead here. So, Chicago. I don't know what to say. I don't know where you go from last week's, triumphant comeback of, we're so good, our offense is back, we're going to be okay, Justin Fields is the guy. And then you blow the entire game to the Broncos, who in their own right are terrible, but it feels just about dead. It's been just about as dead as it could possibly be for the Bears. I think Ryan Poles can stay around as GM, but Eberflus, he's got to go. He's not a good coach. I think he's a good coordinator, not a good coach. Some guys just aren't cut out for it, and I think we're learning quickly that Eberflus might not be the guy in Chicago, where Washington competed very hard against a very tough Philadelphia team. Should have gone for 2, I think, at the end of the game there, but they didn't. They didn't roll the dice. They lost. And on a long field goal, so, it's a tough game. Sometimes you win them, sometimes you lose them. But, I like Washington in this game. It's just picking the Bears in any capacity is so hard right now. And I think Washington has been frisky enough, and that defense has been frisky enough. And Sam Howell's kind of a roller coaster ride, but I think right now he might be in an upswing. So he'll be good this game, and then week after this he'll be terrible. But either way, give me Washington. Jacksonville versus Buffalo. This would have been a very exciting game before the year. Now, Buffalo might destroy the Jacksonville Jaguars. Frankly, Buffalo's been money ever since they lost that Monday night game opener. Josh Allen's been on his stuff. Defense took a blow to the secondary with Tre'Davious White going down with Achilles. Hate that. But the pass rush is still really good. Von Miller should be coming back soon, if not this week. I like Buffalo to win this game by a lot, and it's mainly because I don't think Jacksonville has really hit their stride yet, and I don't know if it's just maybe they're a late team, late bloomer type of team, because they didn't look great last week against Atlanta. I won't say it was a losable game, because Atlanta has their own problems we'll get to, but even then, I don't think their offense is quite moving at the same pace that we really wanted to see from them. We haven't seen that jump from Trevor Lawrence. He hasn't been an A-tier quarterback. He's just been okay. And it's just not clicking yet. I think they're just a late bloomer. Like I said, I think they're just a slow starting team, and I think going up against Buffalo right now, who's in really a good groove, and it's just a tough battle. Next we have Houston at Atlanta. Yeah, as a Falcons fan, I have to say Desmond Ridder is not the guy. I came into the season cautiously optimistic, and he's made me very pessimistic. Now I can't defend him at all. Like there's no positives for me to hang my hat on. Where I look at my two teams right now, Georgia playing subpar ball for their standards, and I look at Atlanta, and I'm seeing growth from Carson Beck week after week. I think I'm seeing the maturation of a young quarterback who hasn't started a lot in college, and now he is trying to figure it out in doses. He's not there yet. There's still timing issues he has, accuracy issues, or whatever you want to say. But that's a college kid. Desmond Ridder is like kind of the same type of energy, except he's in the NFL. Defenses look a lot better against that type of quarterback in the NFL, and I'm not seeing any sort of growth or improvement week after week. I know it's early in his career, but I feel like it's time. You can see it. You can just tell that the offense isn't running at what they need it to. The passing game isn't clicking. It's not in sync at all. And I think there's a reason why he was drafted in the third round, and we're figuring it out quickly. And like I said, I came to terms with it last week. Like, okay, he's not the guy. It's fine to admit it now. He's not good. It's okay. It's okay, Falcons fans. We can move on to Taylor Heineke and be happy about at least maybe trying to compete, maybe trying to move the ball downfield, seeing what he has, what he can offer. I think the leash has to be short for Desmond Ridder on Sunday against a Houston Texans team who will come to fight. They've proven that through 2 weeks. I'm a big fan of C.J. Stroud. He's really quickly making an impression on me as an NFL quarterback. He's got them humming. DeMeco Ryans. I knew he was going to be great. It's one of those, I knew he was going to be a good coach just because I felt like the attitude of the 49ers defense was always solid under him, over these past couple of years. And I feel like it's coming to fruition what he wants this Houston Texans team to be. And like I said, the resources they're working with in Houston aren't great. So the fact that they're 2-2 right now feels like a big, thumbs up to him and C.J. Stroud. And I think this will be a competitive game just because the Falcons defense has been really rock solid so far this year. Maybe the best Falcons defense I've seen in my lifetime. So either way, I feel like this is truly a coin flip, but I would not be shocked if Houston beat Atlanta. It wouldn't be an upset in my eyes, even though Houston is a +2 underdog. Carolina, Detroit. I started off with talking bad about Carolina. Like I said, the road doesn't get easier for the Panthers, and I think this is a very good, example of that, where Detroit is humming. They're full steam ahead. Don't know how they're going to really incorporate Jahmyr Gibbs and Jamison Williams into this offense moving forward. But what they have right now is working. David Montgomery and Amon-Ra St. Brown are enough to carry this offense. Sam Laporte is really kind of coming on nicely, and their defense is, like I said, coming along nicely. Their defensive line is really solid. I like them to get the win against a middling Carolina team. Tennessee at Indy. I don't. This feels like a rock and a hard place. Like this feels like two boulders were looking at each other and like, which one's gonna roll first? Because on one hand, I do think the Colts are a good team, well coached. Anthony Richardson isn't quite there as a passer. We knew that, but as just an athlete, a dynamic player, I think he gives the Colts a chance to win this game. But Tennessee defense is really solid. Mike Vrabel gets those guys ready well. It's just, can that offense show up? And I like the Colts to win this game. It's at home. I think that helps. And Ryan Tannehill going on the road, I just don't know if I believe it at all. I don't buy it. So, yeah, give me the Colts. But like I said, I wouldn't be shocked if Tennessee, kind of came out, punched Anthony Richardson in the face. Maybe literally, maybe figuratively. I don't. Either way, wouldn't shock me if they shut down the Colts either. Giants at Miami. This is a snooze fest of a game. I'm glad it's at 1 o'clock and not a primetime game for some reason. I don't know why the Giants are on prime time outside of being a big market, because they stink. Miami's going to boat race them. New Orleans at New England. This is a very kind of matchup. I like New England to win this at least. I think they got blown out by the Cowboys. It was really bad. Saints kind of got dominated by the Buccaneers as well. Like, both teams coming off ugly losses don't inspire a lot of hope. Don't watch this game if you can. If you have the option, turn off the TV. Baltimore at Pittsburgh. This is, I would say this is a big game for Baltimore to really cement themselves among the best in the AFC. Pittsburgh isn't a threatening team to them. But this is the type of game you have to win. Kind of similar to how they should have beaten the Colts. Like, they just should have won that game in some form or fashion. But they ended up losing it. And, I think Pittsburgh is a similar type deal to the Colts, where it's like they're well coached, they have the pieces, but they're just not on the same level as some of these top tier AFC teams. I think this is kind of how that game has that feel to it. Baltimore should win this game. Cincinnati, Arizona. This is one of those, if Cincinnati loses this, the discussion will be very nasty. It'll be very not fun. Bengals have to win. This is a must-win for the Bengals because Arizona's playing for nothing, but they're a better team than I think people projected. Josh Dobbs is better than people thought. They're frisky, but Cincinnati has to win this game. They have to. There's really no excuse. And I mean, people would say that Joe Burrow is hurt, but then why is Joe Burrow playing? If he's hurt, if he was truly is hurt and it's hurting your team's performance, he can't play. But they keep rolling him out there. They keep losing games. At some point, he's going to get shut down, and it's just going to be a very tough offseason for Bengals fans who came in very happy and excited. But I don't know. Philadelphia at LA. I think this will be a Philadelphia home game, even though it is in Los Angeles, just because the SoFi Stadium kind of works like that. Either way, I like the Eagles to win this game, but I think it'll be similar to the 49ers game that LA played, where they'll kind of go back and forth. They'll are the Rams risky? And then we'll figure out pretty quickly that their defense just isn't up to snuff when against a team like the Rams. But like I said, I do think that the Rams have a shot at the wild card. I do think they have a chance at one of those wild card spots. The more we watch them, I don't think they're going to beat the 49ers out for that division, but I think they're better than people thought. Then we get to the last four here. We get to the Jets at Denver. Don't watch this game. I'll save us the time. Kansas City at Minnesota. It could be an exciting offensive shootout, just because the Minnesota defense is terrible. I don't think it'll be a shootout though, just because I think the Kansas City defense is better than people give credit for. We gotta see Mahomes and Kelsey kind of play better. I think they've played against some poor teams here the past couple weeks. I think we gotta see something from them against a bad Minnesota team to feel better about them in the AFC. And then absolutely the game of the week, Dallas at San Francisco. Finally a good Sunday night football game between two classic teams, two 3-1, 4-0 teams. I think the two best teams in the NFC so far this season, and part of it's because Dallas has played no one, and I mean San Francisco hasn't played anyone great either. So it's really both of their both of their first test, like against the competent coaching, competent teams. I'm excited to see this one. I think it'll actually be a really good game. But I like San Francisco at home, so we'll see how this game goes. Like I said, highlight this one. This save your energy if you if you have the Jets in Denver for your area, CBS area, or whatever. Save your energy. Turn off your TV and wait till 8:20 to watch Dallas at San Francisco. And then Monday Night Football, we get another primetime stinker, but maybe there's some intrigue to it with Jordan Love because Jordan Love hasn't been good, frankly. I mean, outside of a game against the Bears, who are awful, and a comeback where really he was dreadful for 3 quarters and turned it on in the fourth. Jordan Love hasn't looked great, so we'll see how he does against a not good Las Vegas team. I think Las Vegas is risky, but not. They shouldn't beat Green Bay, but we'll see how that goes. So that'll do it for me. A little bit longer episode this week. Had a lot to talk about, so we'll probably have a similar case next week. A lot of bets. Got to see if we win these college ones. Got to put something on the board as an over 500 week, especially with all these games. But with all that being said, I am your host, Lucas Koch, as always. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the show on here on YouTube, on any podcast, that type of deal. Make sure you do all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time.